000, I'm here with Gino.
Hey, danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player. Feeling like Pac, represent. On my block, try to knock me down, but I come up on top. Yeah, they wanna see me flop. Got a plot, want a lot, I won't stop on my pops. Got so many flows, it's insane. They don't really understand the game. Got a plan and it's plain, I ain't playing. I'm just trying to gain. I wanna get that big bag, need that D-Rex. Blow up Tic Tac, where the blue cheese at. I don't give a fuck about your feedback. Eat that, get back, sit back, watch me spit that kickback. Got so many flows, yeah, they think that I'm insane. Ghetto kids in a lot of pain, all about the bills, ain't shit changed. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game, I'm a player. If you a hater, I don't hate you. I'm just really happy that I ain't you. I just wanna thank you. You kept me motivated, so now I motivate you. There's a lot of cake, money on my mind like a banker. Coming through with them bangers, ain't no room for mistakes. Lot of stake, hustle till we get a lot of rooms, lot of stakes. Good kid, but I keep it gangsta. All gas, no brakes. Got cash for the case. More cash in the case. More cash in the safe. More cash on the way. Hustling all day. Ay. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player.
Danger, coming with them bangers. Where my fucking paper.
Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, shit the wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna play, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told them we ain't in the faking, this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my tax is thorough. Way I'm shooting like step, but my pass is bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in they fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goals. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told them I'ma get it and go. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made out the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing just like they all on a dash. And they tell me slow down, cause dog, I'm moving too fast. Might go and caught me a Tesla, cause dog, I still got a gas. Said I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots.
the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream. Bitcoin finally pushed into the end of our first major target for our long here at $66,000, or holding from 66K, guys. Yesterday in the market update, I talked about how I was not taking a short, looking for the top of the golden pocket and the anchored VWAP up towards $82,000. And look at that, baby. Look at that. We pushed into that anchored VWAP, guys. But now the question remains, are we finally going to see some kind of a pullback? And if we do, are we still looking for higher prices? I'll kind of preface the live stream with this. I am still looking for higher prices here, guys. But, of course, as we push into this major level, I'm like drawing on the chart like you guys can see it. But as we push into this first major target, guys, we have to be ready for pullbacks. I'm going to talk about what we're seeing on Market Cypher B. Can we see the pullback coming in? If so, what am I looking for to start it? And if we do come down, if you're not holding any longs, guys, it's going to be really important to keep those key levels of support on your chart. I'm going to cover the two major levels that I'm looking at. And then I'll even go over the higher time frames and like some of the lines in the sand for me personally. But right now, guys, it's feeling pretty good. We're in a really strong uptrend. And excuse me. Sorry, guys. Me and Mrs. Candles are switching shifts for Lucy, and Lucy just wreaked havoc. She peed on the couch, and then she pooped in her cage. So I'm just, okay, we're good. But welcome back, Mafia. What is going on, guys? We got Mike in the chat. What is going on? Said much, much higher. We'll talk about that. Obviously, we are looking up towards around $86,000 to $90,000. I'll show you guys exactly why. We got Darren Does Things in the chat. Welcome in. We got Zach. What is up, brother? We got Mark in the chat. Says, looks good, everyone. Frankie Magic 8-ball time. Shout out to Rudy. Yes. I'll tell you guys this, right? We've been looking for that $81,000 to $82,000 target for, pretty much over a month, ever since we were bouncing off of 66K for many, many specific reasons that we talk about every single day. I don't really want to harp on that today because we've covered it so much. But I will say this, guys, locally, it is a little bit of a difficult situation. I'll explain to you why, but I'm going to try to break it down nice and simply for you. We got those key levels marked off on the chart. For me personally, guys, I am sitting on my hands and waiting for more confirmation or another key level to get hit, and I'll get deeper into it in just a second. But shout out to Jay in the chat said, love the bullishness. Shout out to Jay. Yeah, it's weird, right? It's weird because we got to get bearish at the highs. People hate me. And then, I look forward to starting to get at least bullish, right? As you guys know, I'm not saying the bottom is in necessarily. We are obviously still in a massive downtrend. We're in a massive bear market. But even just looking for this move from 66K to 82K, a lot of people didn't really, it's almost like they didn't want to hear me say that. And it's like I'm saying price is going up. But yeah, I think some people are starting to come around here. But yeah, I'll go over the high time frames with you guys, of course. We are still in a bear market, so you got to keep those, should you be flipping super bullish or should you still keep looking through the kind of bear context? We'll talk about that today. But anyway, without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump out into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, let's see. Shout out to Rudy. Said, seriously, though, how do you know not to take the bear divs, dude? I got stopped out on one of them. Well, shout out to Rudy. Listen, man, if you get stopped out, if you see the bear divs, there's confirmation, right? If you get stopped out, they're not all going to play out. But actually, Rudy, you're definitely in the premium, right? Am I tripping? If you're in the premium, I just dropped a video update for everybody in the Discord, and I literally explain exactly why. I kind of sat out of those. I can go over it a little bit in today's video as well. But obviously, guys, through pretty much most of this push to the upside, the last short position, well, first off, number one, guys, yesterday on the market update, obviously no shorts for me, as I said in that video. We were pushing into, let me pull up the daily MPOC here, because, again, I think really what comes in here for me personally is market experience and market discretion. This environment that we're in, essentially ignoring this wick, just continuing to put in aggressive higher lows. When you see money flow just, extending in the green here, especially on like the lower time frames, we look at like the 30-minute, the 24-minute, like this has come out many a times and just keeps getting stepped on. This is really, number one, right? We came up into our first major zone of resistance. There actually was a valid scalp short here. We talked about this in the premium live stream. But for a small, like 1% move to the downside, I actually talked about how I was not going to take this trade, although a valid trade, right? I never want to talk people out of taking a position that they might see or a setup that they might see. I just personally wasn't interested in it for the reasons I'm about to explain, right? Number one, this bear div was kind of wonky. Number two, the biggest thing that we talked about was the fact that we had this daily naked point of control sitting up here, naked, right? And these levels do act as magnets for price. And as I always say, more often than not 100% of the time, but more often than not, you will see these key levels tapped. So, if I don't tap that key level, guys, 90% of the time, unless I'm just taking a scalp, I'm going to be waiting for that key level to get hit, right? And it has been a little bit difficult, right? Well, last week, I was obviously at the Bitcoin conference. I wasn't actively trading, but essentially, I'm just still holding my long from down at 66K. We've taken some scalps, in between, but for the most part, I've just been chilling in my long position here, trying to avoid the bad trades, right? So we came up to tap this level. I wanted the daily MPLC, so I sat out of that. Look at that, right? Shallow little pullback, push into the daily naked point of control. It ended up pulling into the naked point of control while I was sleeping. It was like 1:30 in the morning. But then, once we saw the chart, right, there was really no reaction here. We just got on top of that daily MPOC. At that point, no reaction, no short for me. And at that point, the only other level to look at was the level we looked at yesterday on the market update. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You turn on notifications so you don't miss this. I talked about how I was still not taking a short position, and I was going to just simply either wait for price to come up here or for price to give me some kind of like a bigger show its cards, essentially, right? Break market structure, get a failed auction, something like that. Simply just waiting for that next target between 81, or not really 81, really at $82,000. Top of the golden pocket, anchored VWAP, and here we are. We also had a CME gap there as well, and now we have finally tapped this entire target, right? So let's all just enjoy that, right? From 66K, it's been a long, kind of slow, grinding journey, although aggressive, just kind of slow and, kind of just like wiggling to the upside here. But finally, guys, there is the $82,000 target, right? I know this seems crazy when we talk about this at 66K. I have to come up here and be like, I'm just still holding my long, guys. I'm still waiting for this target to get hit, but obviously that's for a reason. All the money flow coming into the green, very clear that there was a higher probability we would see this continuation up. But now we have come into the resistance perfectly. Now here comes the question. Are you short? I am not short right now, guys, which is kind of frustrating for me, just because I like to get up here and show new trades. I haven't even showed the long in a while, just because I've shown it so many times. But at the end of the day, right, we came up here super, super early. I was not on the chart. And to be honest, right, there was not a lot of confirmation up here. We tapped the key level. Can you just, look to trade the reaction off the key level? Absolutely. Obviously, I was not on the chart, but we have no low time frame bearish divergences here, nothing like that. Now, we do have some medium time frame bear divs, higher highs, lower highs on the 4-hour. Maybe your money flow is starting to roll over here on the 4-hour as well. But obviously, once we saw this happen, we already had the pullback. I'm not looking to chase this. This is a move I would rather be late to than early to. And that has been my sentiment here, which has paid off, right? Sometimes the best trade is no trade, right? And, obviously my finger gets itchy too, guys. Experience doesn't fully delete that emotion. It makes it a lot easier to deal with. But of course, I'm sitting here. It's kind of boring, honestly, right? It's nice because we're printing money on the long from 66K, but it's kind of boring, right? Like Bitcoin's not even giving big pullbacks for longs. However, sitting out of those positions, right? Best trade's no trade. I'm waiting for higher. Little pullback, continuation up. Waiting for higher. Not even really a little pullback. Flip the support, push higher, right? So sometimes the best trade is no trade. Now there is a time where I will go short here, guys, but it is going to be more of a reactionary-based trade. Looking for something like a failed auction. I really have some key levels that we're looking at in the Discord that, if lost, I may look to enter on a retest. But with that being said, just because I'm short here does not mean that we can't get a pullback, right? Even if I was expecting a pullback and I'm not in a short position, right, we could still obviously see that pullback come in, which is what I want to talk about today. And why would I take this a little more serious today? Well, now we have come up and tapped all the key levels, right? There's no naked levels above us. So I do think, right, eventually we're going to see this pullback. You got the 12-hour red dot looking to print. You got the 10-hour red dot printing. You got the 16-hour red dot looking to print. And you all know what I'm going to do. I'm going to shuffle down to those lower time frames and take a look at the money flow, looking for the 1/16th bearish market cipher B setups. So for the 16 and the 12-hour, we're going to look at the 1-hour and the 45-minute, right? 1 hour money flow, right? Obviously just been thick in the green here. Is this trending out? I guess technically, right? But of course, right, you're still pretty deep above this zero line. So I wouldn't say, once we print that 16-hour red dot, depending on when it pops up, this money flow is still pretty thick. When we take a look at the 45-minute, it's kind of the same thing, right? Maybe it's coming out a little bit, but it's still pretty thick in the green. I will say this, right? If we get those 12 and 16-hour green red dots and the 45-minute money flow and the 1-hour money flow starts tanking into the red, this is traditionally what I look for a continuation to the downside. The setup is not perfect, right? If this was like a perfect setup, we were about to get a crossover into the red, I'd be a little bit more aggressive trying to catch a short here. I just don't have the super, super clear signal. Now, market cipher B, obviously, as I mentioned before, has been, right? This is not a problem with the indicator. This is just when you have kind of wonky, just grinding price action. I guess you can call it wonky. You could also call it super clean. But when you're just grinding up like this, there's been a couple of times here where you see that 24 and 30 minute, pretty much the same time frame, right? 24-minute money flow looks to cross into the red. I'll mark this off with a horizontal vertical line. We look at that 8-hour for the market cipher B 1/16th. You could see. Oh, what am I doing here? Come up earlier. Well, either way, right? This money flow faked out. There was no red dot, but the money flow faked out. We just continue up. But there's been a couple of times here, right? This money, I believe it's this money flow crossover right here, right? At face value, if I bring this into bar replay mode, this is, right, almost always going to be, give me the sentiment, right? And this is where I think Rudy was asking, like, how do you know not to take the trades, right? Because there is technically a setup here. 24-minute money flow about to cross into the red. Don't make me a fool twice here, right? That 8-hour red dot was about to print. That is typically a good sign, right, for a continuation of the downtrend. And in this case, I am almost always looking for a bounce, right? Maybe that green dot prints. You get a little bit of a bounce for a lower high and a lower low, right? Because once that money flow crosses into the red, that indicates the overall trend. So any little bounce to the upside is to be faded to the downside. But in an environment like this, right, where we have seen money flow continuously fake back out into the green, obviously in a super bullish environment, or locally at least, not the perfect setup, right? Or you could take it, right? But you're not going to be shocked if it doesn't play out, right? And this is part of what has stopped me from taking some of these trades, right? There's like a high probability of them getting faked out. And then also, once we get up here, it's like, we haven't hit the daily MPOC. I'm still going to sit out, even if I have those confirmations. We hit the POC, right? No reaction there. I'm going to wait for that $82,000 zone, right? And of course, obviously, we know what happens. You just get that continuous fake out, right? So it's very difficult up here because I don't really necessarily have a super, super beautiful confirmation for the pullback. Now, obviously, as we all know, it does not necessarily mean that we are not going to get a pullback, right? So at this point, I would not be shocked if we get a pullback. I wish I could have some kind of like super clear, right, bearish divergences into the level. We just don't have them, right? But in the case that we do pull back, I think it would be nice to get a pullback from here. It's our first major target. It's the golden pocket, the anchored VWAP. I mean, this is a really nice zone of support. Maybe we bing bong around in here a little bit. If we do end up losing this level and getting a bigger pullback, which again, we could look at that 24-minute money flow coming out with our 8-hour red dot, but just keep in mind what I just brought up to you, which is that, I kind of not trusting this fully right now. And this is just the environment that we're in. There's going to be, eventually price will settle down. We'll get a more normal environment. We'll be able to trust those a little bit more. And people ask me how I'm able to do that. It's really just market discretion. I think you only get that through experience. But at the end of the day, we're pushing in here. Technically, from a super basic standpoint, you got little 4-hour bear divs here. And more importantly, right, we've tapped into that resistance, right? If we do get a pullback here, there are some very, very big 2 major levels that I'm looking at for a continuation of the uptrend, which, by the way, is still my overall bias. Daily money flow, still in the green here, right? Bearish divergence hadn't printed. Maybe we print this today. VWAP's not that close to the 0 line, but this is also very, very close to getting invalidated, right? If I draw this as a trend line, right, you have, maybe like almost equal highs. You have like barely a lower highs on your momentum waves. Obviously, you have clear higher highs on your price action into a key level of resistance, but this is getting close to invalidating. Money flow is starting to kick back up. If we wind up getting a big dump, maybe this momentum wave pulls back a little bit before the red dot prints, in which case you would have a clean bear div. I don't enter on the daily, right? So obviously I wouldn't enter a trade based off that because you probably miss a bit of the move. But, I mean, we're still money flow coming up, right? Like this isn't aggressively trending out or anything like that, just kind of further muddying the water. But I would watch that daily red dot. If we're going to get the significant pullback I'm about to talk about right now, 16, 12-hour, and daily red dots are probably the things to do it. And then, of course, you could pair that with the 1-hour, 45-minute, and the 90-minute money flow, right? You're looking for the red dots on those higher time frames with those money flow crossovers following suit, right? So for the daily, you're watching the 90-minute, right, which is still pretty thick in the green here, VWAP coming up. But if we do end up printing that bear div, we start to get the pullback, right? We start losing the key support, right? If this money flow comes out and crosses into the red, that would indicate, in my opinion, a much bigger pullback. But if we do pull back, like I said, my overall sentiment here, guys, is going to remain, right, with our next target. We've already bing-bonged into our first major target, which I honestly felt a little crazy calling for just because it took so long, right? But finally, we're here. If we just snap to the upside, hey, let's go, right? I am still holding a portion of my long. I did take more, I think I mentioned this. I took more profits on my long today as we have finally hit that target, right? Got to pay yourself along the way. But if we do just continue snapping to the upside in a super aggressive manner, beautiful. Next major level I'll be looking at is still, right, just like 81 to 82,000 was the major first target. The major second target still remains 86 to about $90,000. Now, I'm not expecting that you have to get there today or tomorrow, and we have some local levels I'm going to bring up in between for maybe some scalp trades. But, when it comes to the major moves here, right, this is going to be the next major, like, long-term, higher time frame target, right? Same thing we've been covering. Every single video, live stream, smoke signal we send is all talking about these targets. So we made it. If we get the pullback, guys, 2 major key levels, and I want to try not to break this down into too much intricate low time frame confluence. I'm just going to bring up these levels in general. Number 1 is going to be $77,000. We have this daily NPOC. This is tapped technically on the USD chart on Bybit. This wick is not on all exchanges, right? So I am still going to view this as a very key level. $77,000. We also have some confluence. I think I have a folder here. Yeah, so we have the golden pocket, 786, with that tapped daily NPOC. And this zone does sit between, almost 78K, 77,918, down to about $77,000. This is also confluent with a local value area, which I do believe I have on the chart as well, right? And let me I want to make sure this does not get over confusing because we are in a bit of a clouded situation, if you will. So we have the previous value area high is in there, right? Of course, if we get a bigger pullback, right, we kind of want to stay on top of that value area high, right? If we get accepted below the value area high, we cannot get out, lose the 786. I will be looking down to our next major level of support, which obviously lose the value area high. I will be looking to go to the POC. And we do have Golden Pocket Confluence there, sitting at about $75,000. These are the two major levels I will be looking at. Now, we do have another one down here. As you can see, this is a little bit different, right? These I would classify as like more aggressive support levels, right? This would kind of just help us continue that beautiful higher low structure if we're just going to continue like ranging up in this channel. And then if we lose that, you have some backup here at about $75,000 where you have the golden pocket, the POC of the range, and maybe this anchor VWAP can come up. I assume this probably will not be confluent if we make that big move. I don't think this will line up, but it is there. So this I would mark this value area off on your chart. It sits value area high, sitting at 77,500. POC sitting at about 75K, 74,844 to be exact. And then your value area low sits here at about $73,588. This is the local context I will be using, guys, because at the end of the day, if we get a bigger pullback, this would be support because it's the value area high, and the golden pocket 786 makes it an area to potentially look for a higher low. This is my first major area of interest. And then, of course, obviously, if we lose that, can't get out of the range, you're going to be anticipating the POC next anyway. And as you guys know, I do not love taking longs in the middle of a range, but because of the confluence here on the golden pocket, it is also an area where we can look for that bounce, right, in this very specific situation. And then, obviously, lose the POC. I will simply be looking down to the value area low, and this level, in my opinion, as I've mentioned in the market update yesterday, as I mentioned in our live streams recently, let me just go ahead and hide this stuff, right? This 73,700 all the way down to about 73K is major support, guys. I do not want to lose this, as I've talked about before. We have previous value down here, right? We have now broken out of that value area. So if we come down, we do not want to get accepted back into this range. This is not the line in the sand for 60K, right? If we wind up getting a big dip, right, we don't get a bounce off any of those other key levels, and we just continue the trend down. And of course, as we come down to these key levels, when we check in tomorrow, we'll have an idea of like what the chart looks like down there. If we're bouncing off 77K and it looks like we're going to continue down, we'll talk about that, or if there's a higher probability of it continuing up. Either way, that 77 and 75K are going to be the big levels to watch. And then if we do end up just, eventually getting the money flow coming out, we get a bigger correction. This is my biggest level that I am looking at. Reason being, right, this is kind of one of the last places where I would like to see a higher low, right? And to be honest, I don't even really love coming down here anymore, right? The higher up we go, like the less deep I want the pullback to be. But simple volume profile theory, we get the pullback. We do not, if we get accepted into this value area high, right? Essentially, I think it greatly increases the chances by a lot that you're going to see the bigger move down to 67 to 68K, which will be the line in the sand for me personally. And I'll show you that in a second. So this sits between $73,778 and $72,900. This would also be, in my opinion, a great place if we retest to continue out, right? We don't want to get accepted back into this value. This is lower value. We want to leave this value and then go seek out our previous area of fair value up here. Auction market theory. It's exactly, we talked about this eons ago, all throughout down in this range, right? We have our lower volume profile. We come down, we fill it, right? Once we end up getting the breakout of this range, and of course, this was the original range, and then we wound up creating value down here, right? Just kind of cleaning it up. We bing bong around here. What do we say? If we impulse to the upside, the next place for price to likely go, which is part of the reason why we have the $82,000 target, is to seek out, right? More often than not, price will seek out fair value. Our next area of fair value sits right up here. Value area low starts at about $86,400, which is part of that $86,000 to $90,000 major target. And what do we see happening here? On top of that, we have the low volume gap, right? There's the low volume gap. High volume node, high volume node. Once you leave, these high volume nodes are sticky. These high volume nodes are sticky. Once we leave this, price has really nowhere to go, right? It's like, oh my God, there's nothing ahead of me. I'm just going to keep pushing until it runs into a wall, right? Magnet, magnet. So if we come back down, I'll just repull this profile because I did extend it. That $73,000 zone is, in my opinion, very important to hold on top of to continue that move through the low volume gap, right? If we're going to continue this gravitation towards the previous value up here, we do not want to get accepted back in here, right? Once we get accepted back in here, now you're in lower value. Well, you're going to look to get accepted to your next highest volume node, right, or big magnet. Why is this the line in the sand, right? Well, very simply put, got a nice daily MPOC there too, which is very nice. Why is this the line in the sand for me? Well, very simply put, where is my macro trend line support, right? Take off the daily MPOCs. Worth noting, you do have an MPOC down, 2 MPOCs down there. But when we look at this, right, we just pull that macro trend line, golden pocket 786 from the low to the high. If we do come down there, this is, in my opinion, right, the last thing to hold. Because if we're looking for higher lows and higher highs, let's assume, right, our 2-day money flow is still, technically into the green, right? We're sitting in the green, slightly coming out. But if this changes, we'll see it when it comes in, right? But it's too soon to say this is changing. 3-day money flow looking like it wants to cross into the green. What does that indicate? Well, if this money flow crosses green, the high time frame trend is likely to continue to the upside. Red and green dots indicate the ebbs and flows. Ebbs, right? Maybe I'll start up here, right? The ebbs, flows, red dot, green dot, red dot, green dot, red dot, green dot. Money flow indicates the trend. Very simple. So if we see a red dot print here, which VWAP is just scooting to the upside, but eventually, right, once this red dot prints on the 3-day, right, you can see a significant pullback. But when money flow is coming into the green, you are open to look for higher lows and higher highs within the larger, higher time frame trend. Remember, we're looking at the 3-day here, right? So this could feel super scary, feel super bearish, right? But in the context of the long-term trend, if the money flow is still coming up, this is how we stay on the right side of the trades, right? It's why we took the long down here and held it to 82K. It was because of the daily money flow coming up and making us anticipate the continuation of the uptrend. So this is going to be the line in the sand, because if I'm looking for higher lows and higher highs, that golden pocket 786 is going to be the place to look. We have the POC of the major range. We have daily MPOCs backing you up. You have a weekly MPOC backing you up, right? But once we end up coming down here, once we end up coming down here, right, I'll take some of this stuff off the chart so it's not super confusing. We break down below the 786, and we cannot reclaim the POC. This invalidates the higher low. So once we lose that 786, that is the line in the sand for me to take out that $65,000 low, in which case we'll just be back in a ranging context. And I also do think that will greatly increase the chances, because if we did see that big pullback down to the value area low, money flow on the daily, the 2-day are probably all coming back out. I think that does greatly increase the chances of seeing that $60,000 low getting swept. But the good news here is that we do have a lot of room to come down before that invalidation comes in, right? So we got the local levels, and then we got that kind of major last level holding on top of that trend line, right, which I just deleted. Let me just get that back. There we go. Does that make sense? So we got plenty of room to come down here before it really starts looking bad. Let me come into the chat here for 2 seconds. Oh, God. Tony D said the Chris Mella, that is one of the most wild ones. Oh, my God. What did he say? What did he say? Shout out to Chris. I'm calling him Chris. I don't know if that's how you say his name. Did it get blocked? Wait, I don't see him here. Where's Chris? Oh, man. Dropping those out-of-pocket comments constantly. Shout out to Jake from Reddit. Welcome in, brother. Welcome in. Shout out to Quantum. Said bull/bear market support band shows bull market started 100K next. So I will actually cover that for you, because we are interacting with the bull market support band. We will cover that. Am I looking at DCA in the 60s or waiting? Shout out to Benny. If we did come back into the 60s, yes, I will continue to buy. Same thing with if we lose 60K. Hopefully that makes sense. Shout out to Jesse. Said I'm dying, Frankie. Shout out to Jesse, bro. Where is Chris? Did you guys block him? Don't block Chris. We love him, bro. He is funny. He is out of pocket. Shout out to Matthew. Thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, let's pump it a bit more, Frankie. Shout out to Matthew. I'm going to try. We'll hit up Golden. And maybe he could pump it up a little bit more. And I will cover the local targets to the upside as well, guys. But I do like to kind of separate it, right? Like, High time frame, like just overall analysis, basic market direction versus the key levels that we're looking for shorter term trades, right? So from like a high time frame perspective, right? In my opinion, there is still, some kind of crazy pullback, right? I'm not saying you have to see it, right? But something like this could be in the cards, right? And we talked about this, right? Oh my God, Head and Shoulders, holy cow. And to the upside, right? The next major target is just simple volume rotation. And like the easiest way for me to kind of show this to you guys is to just show you our previous range from the lows that we looked at on the way down, right? We have the bing bong sideways here. Money flow is coming out on a ton of major time frames, especially the weekly. We catch the short at 98K, and we expect this to eventually break down. And we know, based off our previous value here, right? Again, the market is an auction, and based off auction market theory, impulse out of this value, right? Whether you want to look at the small range or you just want to pull this to look at overall price action. I think this is maybe a little easier to understand. Price has fair value. Money flow comes out, so we expect to lose this value. And once we lose these lows, if you've been watching the channel for a while, not only do we expect a dump, but we expect a very aggressive and fast dump through the low volume gap. There's nothing but air underneath you. Where is price going to gravitate to when it enters into that low volume gap? It is going to seek out previous value from back here in 2024. What happens? You get the absolute capitulation through the low volume gap, right? A lot of people are like, oh my God, why is price dumping, right? Well, we're just like, well, we entered the low volume gap. We literally sit here and wait for the free fall. It's part of the reason why we held those shorts from 98K. Absolutely massive short. What happens? You get into your value area, down to the POC, down to the low. Now that we are impulsing out of this range, whether you're looking at this range or you're looking at the other one I had right here, right? Same idea. You're impulsing out of your value. You have the low volume gap still ahead of you, so you expect a fast move down. And I wouldn't say fast, right? But aggressive trend to the upside, right? Not a lot of resistance. Just keep pushing up, pushing up, pushing up. This is why a lot of those bearish confirmations may not have played out, right? We understood that, though, right? We understand this is a low resistance area with the major target at the golden pocket at 82K. So, again, check it off the list. Target number one hit. Can we still make it to 86K? Well, based off auction market theory, that is still going to be the longer-term target. As long as we can hold, in my opinion, as long as we can hold this 786, right, which is, again, top comes in at the value area high, bottom, the 786 comes in closer to the POC. Even if we see a bigger pullback like this, we could still see, right? And again, that's why it's important not to get underneath this value. It's going to be difficult if we get into this range, right? Because technically this would still be valid. It's just a more difficult trade because now you're back inside lower value. You have a chance of rotating to the low. It's a difficult trade, right? It's just sometimes, that's why I say I hope we just hold on top of it. But, of course, you don't want to get accepted into this value. You want to continue your journey to get accepted into the higher value. Very simple. So that's a long-term view. If we have to get the big pullback, that's the lowest I want to see it go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and that brings you right down to the POC around 68K. Of course, once you lose that POC, that's really where it starts to get a lot more bearish, in my opinion. But money flow looks pretty good on the 3-day. I have to be looking through this lens. If something changes, right, we could be halfway through the dump, right? Something completely changes, and now it's like, hey, guys, this doesn't look good anymore. We're going down. But as far as right now, looking for the continuation up still, even on the pullbacks. Mark off all the key levels we just went over. They're all very important. There's no guarantee we have to come down here. We could bounce off those local levels, so you got to be ready. So that's a long-term view, right? And then I'll go into the local levels because, of course, with 86K being our next upper target, we do still have some local. I have a really, really nice context to show you guys because you can see here, speaking of value, when we mark off value areas on this chart, what do I see? I see just roughly a value area. I see a value area. I see a value area. I see a value area. And I also see a value area. This one is going to come into play, or is coming into play right now. So I'll go over that in a second. I'm going to jump into chat, see if we have any questions, comments, and I really wish I knew what Chris said because I was kind of really searching for that. Shout out to Dominic, said, what up, Frankie? Shout out from the spirits on the markets. Much love, brother. Shout out to Dominic. Thank you for being here, bro. I appreciate you. Hope your time in Vegas and the BTC conference was fun. Shout out to Koozie Can. Shout out to you, brother. I just got the Aztecian Cactus Black Coffee. I broke my rule today, guys. I drank 2 cups today. Don't tell Mrs. Candles. But yeah, BTC Vegas was awesome. We got to meet Dave Digital. We got to meet Alex. We got to meet Golden. Golden showed us his 16,000 square foot penthouse in Vegas. It was like a hotel room. Insane. It's like you don't even like realize the level of these rooms that they have in Vegas. It's insane. But yeah, it was super, super fun. Mrs. Candles, we learned, is a slot machine degenerate. So now I got to watch her. She's like playing slot machines on her phone now. And I'm like, oh my God, Mrs. Candles, don't run us down. I'm still wrecked from Vegas. My sleep schedule's chaos. Yeah, shout out to Tony. My sleep schedule was chaos before it, and then I was hoping the time change might fix it, but it kind of just reinforced my crazy sleep schedule. Yo, nice value area breakdown. Yeah, shout out to Tom G's. Yeah, it's very simple, right? It can be very complex, right, when you're looking for all the confluences, the key levels, the MPOCs. But at the end of the day, right, when you look for like long-term, just market direction, right? This is the best way to look at the market, in my opinion. Again, just simply looking like value, like just from a very simple perspective, right? You break down out of this range. If someone, had a gun to my head and there was like, it breaks down out of this range, where's it going? I'm going to be like, low key, let me blow your mind. It'll probably get a tiny bit of a bounce here, a tiny bit of a bounce here, and then eventually it'll come down here. And I would expect some kind of bigger reaction off that value area low. It's just very simple, right? Fair value, imbalance, right? You have balance in the range, imbalance outside of the range. When you're in imbalance, price, more often than not, will seek out balance, right? Which is exactly what happened. Very simple concept, right? Obviously, there's more to it, but if you're just looking for market direction, it's very, 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 very simple. I could show you these examples till I'm blue in the face, right? Here's a value area. You come down, you deviate below. We actually took this long position in the premium for a move. What is the anticipation for that trade? Very simply put, it is to come back up at first into the value, right? And what happens? Like clockwork, you get inside the range, flip it to support. At this point, the next likely target to the upside is the POC. That is the biggest magnet within the profile. You get sucked up towards that POC, little pullback. Once you get over the POC, the next stop is going to be the value area high. And you can see that is exactly where we started to play around with. And then obviously based off the market conditions at that point, we decided to hold a portion of that trade for a much bigger move up. So again, right, you have a little bit of value down here, right? Some kind of like a wonky range. Once you break out of this range, you're going to seek out fair value, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So yeah, let me break down the local levels for you guys. Start a Mrs. Candle slot machine channel. Oh my God, I wish Mrs. Candle would go on camera. She will not go on because she's super shy. She does not want to go on camera. But that would be sick. The CandleMafiettes, we'll call them. The Slot Mafiettes. Slot Mafia? Whoa, Slot Mafia is kind of a fire name, but also like, anyway, Slot Mafia is crazy. It sounds derogatory. Ugh, look at this. Look at this group. Oh, look at this group of girls coming down. Total Slot Mafia. Oh, I'm losing my mind. All right, let's see. Why can't we just go straight to 107K and reverse all this? Shout out to Jake from Reddit. Said, me no want wait. 107K is a key level. But again, guys, I don't want to, I have to be very careful, right? Because there's new people that watch this channel every day. This is not necessarily me saying, right? It is not beyond me, right? That we are in a bear market, right? And this is why we are kind of in a difficult situation, right? Because it's like Bitcoin looks strong, right? Bitcoin still can come down deep and continue to move up. We have to understand that we are still in a bearish environment, right? Long-term, weekly time frame. We are in a downtrend. We are in a bear market. Bear market rallies can happen. They could be upwards of 40+%, right? There's a 46% pump to the upside. Here is a 47% pump to the upside, right? So this is not me. I don't want people to think that we're getting this bounce. Oh, my God, we're going to $1 billion instantly. I mean, could we? Maybe. That'd be nice. But we are still, right? And the reason I, am not ignoring this as a major key level, put this on log. I saw somebody ask a question about the log versus non-log fibs. You could toggle between them. Typically, if you want my rules, I'll look at it on log when it's over a larger percentage move, right? But, that's why this golden pocket 786, right? And again, that 786 sitting between that $86,000 and $90,000 target, right? You want to look at this super simply. I mean, if I'm looking for major areas where we can get large corrections and potentially a lower high to continue the major downtrend, right? If I just had only a bear case here where I'm like, hey guys, we're going to look for a lower high, where would I look for the lower high? It would be right inside this zone, right? So it's kind of difficult, and that would be to put in a new low potentially, right? We're strong here, right? Money flow on the 2 days in the green. Money flow on the dailies thick in the green. Money flow on almost every time frame, for the most part, is in the green. 3-day getting very close. High time frame. 3-day. Big time frame. Looking to cross into the green. We also have the weekly, right? For anyone who has kind of checked out for a while and is watching the stream for the first time in a while, I mean, this has historically been a very, very good sign, right? We could pull up the bull market support band as well. Now, I would be careful, right, with the bull market support band, because it's not like every time you touch the bull market support band that it's bull market, right? So I wish it was that simple. You can see here, we came up, we tapped it, we came down, but we're getting over it. Well, if we come on over to the Bitstamp chart to get a little more history, right, there are times where you can play with that bull market support band and then just end up losing it, right? But this is a different kind of scenario, in my opinion, right? Because at this point, you hadn't even gotten the weekly money flow crossover yet. You hadn't seen the big capitulation down yet. So, this would be very obvious resistance at this point, right? Currently, we already have the money flow in the red and trying to cross back into the green on the weekly, right? So we are a little bit later, so that's kind of a good sign. But I don't want anyone to get like super dangerously looking at this as just like, oh my God, you flip the bull market support band, it's a bull market. But to be fair, it is a little bit different. Like even here, you get above it, you bang bong around, you lose it, you continue down, but also a little bit different of a context, right? Money flow on the weekly had not crossed into the red yet, right? So you're already kind of anticipating that lower highs and lower lows are going to come. And on the weekly time frame, anytime money flow comes out, you're looking for a high, a low, a lower high, lower low, right? And on the weekly, you're looking for pretty large moves down. We are not in that situation right now. We're kind of more like in the red, right? So, and starting to cross back into the green. So it is a little bit different. So I would be careful looking at that 1-to-1. But yes, we are above the bull market support band. Nice to see. I would never look at it alone. But definitely, not a bad thing, right? But again, like if I'm looking for those lower highs and those lower lows, this is a big level, right? Even though I'm locally bullish, or medium time frame bullish, we do have to be very careful around this resistance, right? By no means am I just saying, oh my God, guys, that's it, we're going to 300K right now. We got a lot of resistance ahead of us. We're not even at the full Golden Pocket 786 retracement. I talked about this recently. The line in the sand for new all-time highs for me is about 107K, because someone said it before. I said it's a significant level. There it is, $107,000, right? Because this is a local, I don't want to say local, right, because we're on a high time frame, but this is a more local fib, right? Once we get above there, the next big place to look for a lower high, if you're going to get it, is going to be between the Golden Pocket and the 786, between 95 and 107K. If you don't get the lower high there, right? If you don't get a lower high here, you could still put in a lower high here, right? And again, depending on what the charts look like, we'll know if that's going to be a high probability to get the rejection or not. If we're still bullish, if it still looks really good while we're up here, there's probably going to be a higher chance that we just get the breakout. That's not really my base case though, right? But if we don't get it here, you still have an area up here to put it in at, right? Once you break above 107K, at that point, right, lower high is invalidated, and you look for new all-time highs. It's exactly what we looked at on the SPY. I bring this up almost every day. Look at this thing go. Bitcoin kind of slow compared, which is kind of annoying, but it was the same thing here, right? If you're looking for a lower high here, once you break that 786, it's pulled from the all-time high to the low. So once you break that 786, we talked about this live on stream. Break above this, which we closed the daily candle above there, and we say at that point, 786 is invalidated. I'm now expecting the value area high and new all-time highs. There you go. It'd be the same thing for Bitcoin. I'm not saying we have to see it, right? But it's the same kind of theory. So we do still have resistance ahead. Just, we'll take it level by level. I just won't want anyone thinking like it's guaranteed bull market is on, right? Because that's not necessarily my sentiment here, although I am bullish. Cautiously optimistic, I would call myself. Yeah, hopefully, obviously there's a lot of time in between, but hopefully you remain bullish. And here's the good news, guys. I might put out a longer pre-recorded video of like a deep dive on Bitcoin's higher time frames. I'll give you some good news, right? If the low is not in, right, and we end up putting in a lower high either at our local fib or maybe we see something crazy, again, the end of the day, right, the market has an element of randomness, right? Like, oh my God, bull market. And then, of course, we come back to almost revisit the lows. But here's the thing, right? If we do put in a lower high and a lower low, this is not necessary. And my base case is still not that this would be the start of a major downtrend, right? I do still believe that a majority of our capitulation is over. And if we do have to come down to take out 60K, we still have massive support below in the low 50s, and this would still be an opportunity to kind of bottom out. And then, this would be kind of more similar to 2022 where you have like a long-term consolidation. I am still going to be, my major targets to the downside are still in the low 50s, not necessarily 30K just yet. So, even if we do get the lower high and the lower low, wouldn't be shocking. We're in a bear market. Even if all the charts fake out, we're massively bullish and then it just fakes out and comes down to the low. It's not super shocking, but again, we have that major support down in the 50s. So I will still be looking for those big confirmations down there to hopefully, if the bottom is not in, we could hopefully put it in there. And a lot of people looking for that October low, maybe if we have to wiggle around a little bit and then get that dump into September, October, the bottom maybe does come in October, right? But again, I wouldn't expect it to be 30K in October. Hopefully not, right? It's not impossible. We'll cover it, when it gets closer. But yeah, just a little peace of mind there, right? I do still believe that if the bottom is not in, we are still closer than a lot of people think. My personal opinion, not financial advice. Let's see. Sailor just moved 1,200 plus Bitcoin to Coinbase. Oh my God, send it to zero. Do you think he waits for the golden pocket if that does happen? Do you think he was like sitting there looking at that golden pocket? Like, yeah, we're going to sell it. Yeah, shout out to Crypto NY says, don't worry about what Sailor does. Just watch the markets and follow the trends. Look back at previous cycles and see exactly what it'll do. Yeah, and that's why I've been saying a lot. Like, I know a lot of people are looking for 30K. I know a lot of people are looking for October. I don't think you're crazy, okay? I think a lot of people are like, you have no idea what you're doing. Cycles don't matter, right? I don't think you're crazy for looking for that, right? It has been almost the same exact thing every cycle. The thing that I kind of deviate from that mindset is that if we come down and let's say we put massive high time frame confirmations in July or June or August or September, I am not just going to go, wait, we have to wait for October, right? If I see the confirmations on the chart, that's why I love being a technical trader, right? Because it's like, I don't have to really, if it lines up there, that'd be perfect. I would take it into account. If it doesn't line up and I still see the confirmations, I'm just going to make my decisions off the chart anyway. Yeah, I never pay attention to news, guys. Like, listen, when FTX collapsed, was it bearish? Did we dump? Yes. When Terra Luna collapsed, right? Did we get a massive dump? Obviously. But at the end of the day, right, like all this stuff was anticipated on the chart, right? We were looking for this big capitulation down. We didn't know what the news was going to be. We were looking for a lower low here for a potential weekly bull div. Did we know it was going to be FTX collapsing? Not really. So, again, does it mean that that stuff doesn't move the market? No, obviously it does. But if you have a technical plan, a lot of that stuff will just line up with exactly what you want to see anyway. So who knows, right? Maybe they sell it and it causes crazy panic. We put in a lower low and then we kind of just be right on track, or not on a shocking route, right? Let's see. Yeah, shout out to New Earth. Said, yes, Sailor trades. He buys the top and sells the bottom, lol. Shout out to New Earth Guardian. Yeah, I mean, he's been on record saying that he'll just buy the top of Bitcoin forever because he has a long-term outlook, right? For me personally, too, like my longer-term investments, a lot of my long-term investments are long-term, right? It's you got to have a long-term mindset. It's honestly the best way to build wealth. If you're, I separate my trading from my long-term investments, right? Like I'm not watching the S&P get a pullback and I'm like, oh my God, I got to sell all my stocks. Or, I'm not looking at my long-term investments like that, right? These have 10, 15 year or more outlooks, right? Even some of my Bitcoin is long-term. My trading portfolio is much shorter term, right? There, I'm like, oh my God, 15-minute bear div, I'm going to short this, right? Or maybe take profits on my long. But that's a totally separate partition, if you will. We'll take a look at Solana. Solana finally getting a little bit of a move there. But let me cover these local levels on Bitcoin for you guys real quick. So pull up the macro resistance just for context. Right? Very simple terms, guys. I'm going to pull up this Here's the 80K range, right? So I'm gonna actually, so again, I want everyone to be on the same page here. We're at resistance. Don't get that twisted. But when we look at this 80K range, right, simply pulled from our previous value here, which you could see was respected down to the low, POC, POC, back in, can't get out, fill the range in full, little bounce, lose the range, big capitulation. We are now attempting, right, obviously 86 to 90K, big targets, right? But if we're, we don't want to ignore these lower time frame targets, which in my opinion, right now, you have key support, value area low, sitting at about $80,837. I'm not going to be panicking if we lose this and we have to get a bigger pullback, but in the most aggressive manner, guys, maybe sweep some of that liquidity, stay on top of the value area low. As long as we're on top of this value area low, wicks below or not, the doorway to the POC remains open, sitting at about $84,150. This is the only thing in the way. Right now, again, I'm kind of like nitpicking levels here. If I were just showing a high time frame context, I would simply be saying to you, and maybe that's the only thing that's important to you, then you could just take this analysis for what it's worth, get above the golden pocket, right? I'm going to be looking for an eventual move to the 786, right? Once you break on top of the golden pocket, next likely place for price to go is the 786. You have the magnetic value area low there. You have a bunch of MPOCs up here, right? Many reasons for price to eventually seek out that target, right? But if you're looking to catch the ups, the downs, right? You're looking to maybe catch a, little pullback before getting the move up. If you're a trader, right, you want to pay attention to this $84,000 level. Not only is it the POC of that local range, but if we pull up, we've talked about this many a times in the past, pull up your visible range volume profile. There we go. You can see about $84,000 is a high volume node, right? Now, is it as important as a value area low? Not in my opinion. This is always the more interesting target, but you do have a little spike in volume there, right? Nothing gets past the CandleMafia. If that's an opportunity to make some money on a short, we're going to look at it, right? And then, of course, if we pull up that 80K range, it is confluent with that POC, right? And it's really hard for me to just mark off a high volume node like this, but this context makes it absolutely beautiful. So if we stay inside the range, well, hey, we might be able to shoot up to that $84,000 level. That would be local resistance. And then above that, right, you're just essentially flip 84K. You're looking at 86, right, to, almost 90K, which, of course, I would bring up this range, right? You can kind of overlay these, right? So PLC at 84K, maybe you get a little turbulence. If you get above that, I'm essentially, again, from a high time frame context, I would just be waiting for that $86,000 level. If you're a trader, you're looking for those local levels. You can always pay attention to the value area low here at 86K, right? But all of this is confluent with the major resistance level, right? If I pull up that major resistance, you can see that box, whether you're looking at the value area levels, the 786, the daily MPOCs, that zone remains exactly the same, right? But I think this makes a nice, clean, kind of local context, right? Stay inside here. POC is next. If you don't get a rejection here, you flip this. Eventually, you're looking to fill that range in full, which is essentially hitting that $86,000 to $90,000 target. Does that make sense? Now, if we lose this, I'm not going to be tripping too much, right? Of course, we covered those key levels of support. I'll be looking at my overall sentiment in general. But right now, maybe we come up, take the high again. Again, I'm not holding a short here, as I mentioned earlier. There is a failed auction setup I will be looking at. I'm not going to cover it in detail because I have that in the premium Discord. But there will be a situation where I will kind of enter, I guess you can call it a little bit of a later short. But again, this is not, I don't care about being short from the tippy top, right? I'd rather wait for a decent sign of weakness to go ahead and take a shot there. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. Let me jump into chat here real quick. Shout out to AKT. I think that's what that says. Says, I'm calling 88,888. Not too far off the value area high. Shout out to E-Rock said, so I Googled daily naked point of control. The results were exactly what I expected. Shout out to E-Rock. Dang, bro. You walked right into it. Oh, man. Let's see. Different war chest. Yeah, shout out to Bankroll. I said different partition. Yeah, different war chest. Shout out to Bree says, to be honest, for me, it's hard to understand people's logic on buying at 80K. What's wrong with you? And they moved the price up, guessing they bought at all-time high previously, DCAing. That could be the case. But, as I've mentioned in the past, right, first acceptable DCA zone was down in our lower value here, right? Even bing bonging around our value that we were creating down there, right? This is DCA acceptable, right? At least partially exposed to the market. If it just ends up ripping and doing something crazy, and then if we do go down to take out a new low, right, people will be like, well, don't you regret buying there? Absolutely not, right? I will just continue to weighted dollar cost average on the way down, right? So yeah, but it's just, I'll be honest, right? You're not crazy for not understanding that logic, right? It's really just simple market psychology. People do not want to, like, down here at 66K, people were like, that's too bullish, man. Like, there's no way. We're in a bear market, right? Again, as we've talked about, people think the bear market is just starting here, right? The bear market is not just starting here, right? It doesn't mean it's over, right? But this is not where you get bearish, right? Like, if anything, you got to wait for some kind of relief bounce before you start becoming bearish again, right? Talking from a medium time frame perspective. So, when you're down here, no one wants to buy this. It's scary. Probably a lot of people saying the bear market's just starting. They're like, why would I buy here if we're going to go lower? And, of course, we can still go lower, but I would always like to chip away at some DCAs, and then if you come back down, you could always continue to buy lowering your average entry price, especially if you're using a weighted or dynamic DCA strategy. It's always the best way to do it, in my opinion. I've talked about this infinite times in 2022. I did not wait until $15,500 was hit to buy. I was dollar cost averaging here. I did not care that I started buying and then it went lower, right? I see it all as an opportunity because long term, we are doing everything that we have done in the past, not for the bottom to be in necessarily, but while we try to work out some kind of a bottom accumulation pattern, right? So it's all the same, right? So even if the low is not in, I do still believe, in my personal opinion, right, until something changes, we can get new information on the chart, new things can happen, black swans, all that stuff. But as of right now, I do think if we did come down, right, it would just still be a longer term kind of accumulation. I'm not going to care if my average entry price is not at the tippy low, just like I didn't care back here. It was still a beautiful average entry price for a massive move up, right? Even if it was a little higher, I wouldn't have cared. What I did not want to do, and what I'm not going to do, is wait until it feels okay to buy, right? Green candles are much better for people to buy. They think, oh, it's going up, let me hop on the train. The problem with that is, obviously, if you've been in the market for more than a week, those people typically get wrecked, right? So we talked about this as well, right? Maybe max pain, people start getting bullish. They're like, okay, fine, I was wrong. I'll just buy back in here, and then you really punish them. That would be super painful. But yeah, maybe it's just market psychology. People are not going to want to buy down here. People love buying green candles, right? People are not going to buy down here. They're going to buy up here. They're not going to buy down here. They're going to buy up here. They're not going to buy down here. They're going to buy up here. Not here. They're going to buy here, right? Simple market psychology. I prefer white swans. Just the common old white swan. Shout out to Dave Hagen. I used to call bullish black swans white swans, but then I realized that doesn't make any sense, right? It would just be a normal day. So I guess you would have to call them bullish black swan. I don't know. Let's see. Fake out for sure. Yeah. Shout out to Real. Bitcoin crept up nice and slow. Shout out to Zach. Every chart said up we go. Frankie Candle smiled at all, staring deep into the crystal ball. Crowd turned bullish, full of hope. Then BTC pulled the rug. No rope. Shout out to Zach. Zach's out there rapping in the chat. I love it, bro. Golden Swan. Yeah, Golden Swan's something extra special. I get heads up for the Golden Swans. Golden Goose, opposite of Black Swan. Maybe. Shout out to Indian Martini. Maybe. Quantum Yoda says, please explain the monthly red dot if it prints. Yeah, we do have the monthly green dot. Did I say red dot? Monthly green dot, potentially looking to print here. I mean, it would be a bullish sign, right, for a move up. If we look at it in the past, right, like when we start getting into the monthly, even up to the weekly, I do start to treat Market Cypher be a little different, right? Traditionally, when I see, right, I'll just go back to 2022 because this is already played out, right? When I see a money flow crossover, I am essentially looking for the start or continuation of a massive downtrend, which I guess you could say we had here. But you could see, right, once we get the first big capitulation, a majority of the move is over. Yes, you get a lower high, lower low, but it's, once you get that first big capitulation on the money flow crossover into the red, I'm looking at that as the bottom is close. Very similar to where we are now. Right, so yes, you do see a continuation of the downtrend. What I am not looking for is money flow in the red, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Right, that is not what I'm looking at when we're looking at the weekly time frame. On a lower time frame, it is a little bit more like that. So when it comes to the monthly, let's see. Let me pull Bitstamp back up real quick. So yeah, I mean historically, the monthly green dot printing has marked the low, right? At least that the bottom was in. It wasn't the low here. We were already pushing up, but the low had already come in capitulatively, shortly before that, right? So obviously, I mean, if you just back test it here, bottom's in, not a bad sign. And then back here, you had a monthly bottom was in, right? So you can say similar to the weekly money flow, every time this has a 100% hit rate, even when this one faked out, right? You had a green dot, red dot, bottom was still in. So you could say similar to the weekly money flow, as soon as that weekly money flow flips green, historically, every single time in the past, it has indicated that the bottom was in. Same thing with the monthly green dots. So again, does that mean it's going to happen for the fourth time in a row? I don't know. It gets kind of sketchy. The more times in a row it plays out, it's like, where is this? This is not going to be 100% every single time. So it does get a little sketchier. Let's see. Shout out to Joel says, going to the moon, 250K next. LOL, sarcasm. Yeah. Oh, man, that'd be good for likes. Smash that like button, guys. Wow. Shout out to Elo. Shout out to 007. Beat me to it. Shout out to Shirley Sound. Welcome in. But yeah, that is the wanted to cover those local levels with you guys. So there we are. Mark them off on your chart. This value area low, $80,837. POC sitting at 84,153. Value area high, 88,561. You could screenshot this to get it on your chart. That's going to be what I'm using for context, amongst other things, if we do wind up continuing up. But with that being said, we are at resistance. Don't get it twisted. I have to be very careful because sometimes people just tune in. They're like, oh my God, we're going to 88K right now. So I do have to be careful, right? Watching that 8-hour red dot. Got about an hour and 48 minutes to confirm that. 24-minute money flow, of course, just popping back into the green here. Super, super confusing, right? 30-minute money flow. Crossing into the red as well, right? So you do have technically 24 and 30-minute with the 8-hour red dot. So technically you have a market size for B116. So just be cautious here, right? One thing I am not doing here is FOMO long, right? We do have some scalps we're looking at, but we are viewing them as scalps. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. Yeah, looking for something else to say. But other than that, if you just tuned in, scroll back to the beginning of the stream, covered a lot of really, really important things. Frankie, do you do analysis while asleep? Shout out to Felix. No. It's really bad, guys. I used to be a lot worse where I was just anytime I was doing anything, I was either at the computer on the charts or on my phone on the charts. I've gotten a little better, but yes, oftentimes the charts are one of the last things I check before I go to sleep. Yeah, we're due for a pullback. Shout out to Joel. I mean, that's the other thing as well, right? This has just been the most clean, aggressive trend to the upside. We've had the 12 and the 16-hour red dots looming for a while. You could see it was about to cross over, got some support. It's about to cross over again, right? Same thing on the 16-hour. We were about to cross over, big support, got support on the 0 line. VWAP comes up. We get a bigger continuation up. Eventually, we're going to get that red dot, right? And now that we're starting to see, right, we'll watch the 45-minute money flow as well. If this all starts coming out, we could very well see a little correction here. Let's see. Shout out to Striker, said we're going to break 88K right now. I got to go take out a high-interest loan now. It's like what I picture a lot of the time when I talk about that stuff. Shout out to 007, said, do you think it's going to be a big pullback? I don't want to repeat for everyone who's been here, but if you scrub back to the beginning of the stream, I cover the two major levels that I'm looking at, and then I also cover the line in the sand, which is very far away at this point. That would essentially invalidate the continuation up, and in my opinion, it would call for a new low. But we're very far away from that. We have a lot of room to pull back here healthily, and if it changes, right, we'll be here tomorrow to let you know. But as of right now, I do think we have a nice bit of room to come down. Like, even if we break this like aggressive local uptrend, right, from a high time frame perspective, there is still room to bounce here. Do you talk analysis while you sleep? Yeah, shout out to Felix. Mrs. Candles is like, whose golden pocket are you talking about? Anyway, yeah, shout out to Indian Martinis. He says, we start the dump if Frankie hides from the camera. This is a fact. Yeah, there was one time during FOMC, every time I ducked under the desk, price would move. It's kind of weird, guys. It is very weird. I don't know why that happens. Some juicy liquidity around 77K. Shout out to Joel. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Let me just pull this up real quick on the liquidation heat map, and then we'll move on to some of the altcoins. Bada boom. Let's see if we can pull this up. I believe this is the 77K liquidity. Yeah. So looking at the liquidation heat map here, you got a significant amount of liquidity down there as well, right? Starting at about 77.7 all the way down to about 76.9. You got that liquidity sitting below the lows. So yeah, definitely kind of adds to that major level we talked about at 77K in the beginning of the stream. Yeah, shout out to Justin says, I did the high interest loan last bull run and it paid off big time. Shout out to Justin. Well, that's very good, bro. That's very good. I'm happy it worked out well for you. Shouting Bitcoin. She wakes me up. Who's this liquidity girl you're talking about? Sounds like a mistress. It's okay, Mrs. Candles. I'll show you on the chart. Just look. Look, Mrs. Candles. I'm talking. Look, liquidity at 77K. It's liquidity. Stop losses. Not a girl. Shout out to NS8. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Says, how much of an impact do you think Sailor selling could have? Black Swan or small correction? I'll be honest, right? Like, could it have a big effect? Yes. Right. I've actually talked about this in the past. Like, maybe we see the big boys starting to sell off their Bitcoin. That's the black swan. Oh my God, Bitcoin's never coming back type scenario. For me, it doesn't change my plans. Right. Let's say Sailor sells. We get a massive dump down. Oh my God, Frankie, what's going on? It's right. My plan remains the same. The key levels remain the same. If we break down below 60K, I'm going to be looking down between 58 and 54,000, right? We have some levels underneath there as well. Like, I'm still looking at this as major support. It's just not something I incorporate into my plans, right? And again, right, although I am not currently short right now, if we pulled back from here, right, it's like, okay, we do have 4-hour bearish divergences, right? And if he decides to sell, maybe we pull back, then he decides to sell. None of that support holds up, right? I'm just always going to look at it from a chart perspective. I've never looked back in the chart, as I say almost every single live stream. I've never looked back on the chart and been like, oh, man, I got wrecked on my long there because I wasn't paying attention to the news. It's never happened. The only thing that's happened is price moves aggressively, and then it's supported by news, right? Again, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. I wouldn't even say we had massive news here that drew price down. But let's just say you had some bearish news that came out here, right? Well, we were short from up here, expecting a drop through the low volume gap. Whatever the news that happens in there it's whatever, right? I just don't care, right? I'm just trading the chart. Almost entirely exclusive. Stocks, yeah. The SPY, I mean, this is crazy, right? Hopefully Bitcoin can follow suit, right? We talked about that when we were looking for the original bigger push up on Bitcoin, right? Where's April 9th here on the chart, right? April 9th, Bitcoin kind of lagging behind. We're thinking in my market update, I talked about the SPY getting a big move up, right? Like, is Bitcoin going to follow suit? And it did, right? Not into new all-time highs, obviously, but did end up following suit. So, I mean, this is good. I mean, this is crazy. Absolutely insane. Or, liquidity. Shout out to Indian Martini. Shout out to Zach, said inverted hammer on the daily chart. Twitter analysts doing their part. BTC whispered through the dark. The whole pump's about to fart. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely, look at the daily candle here, right? This would obviously, if we close it like this, right? Test of the key level, close down below. Not an SFP of like a liquidity level, but SFP of the anchored VWAP, top of the golden pocket, right? Definitely opportunity for a pullback, right? Maybe it's finally time to pull back. I wish I had like every time frame pointing towards that. Just be a little bit cautious, right? Because again, like it's kind of been the same sentiment moving forward here. It's like, I don't know, like could that be the pullback? Sure, but I'm not super confident, right? Could that be the pullback? Sure, I'm not super confident. I want the daily MPOC tap. No reaction to the daily MPOC. Could we reject it? Sure, but we just keep pushing up, and that's why again, I don't mind being late to the party here a little bit, right? I'd rather wait for the sign of weakness, look for some kind of failed auction setup to wait for the weakness, right? Because tried to front run it here, stopped out. Tried to front run it here, stopped out. Tried to front run it here, stopped out. But yeah, eventually, I mean, there's been no real super significant pullback, especially when you're not looking at this chart without this wick. This is just a crazy grind up. But let's take a quick look at the altcoins, guys. Solana finally getting a move here. We've looked at this forever. Right? Simple value area, bounce from the low, get above the PLC, back to the high, lose the high, back to the low, back to the PLC. We finally flipped the PLC, and we've come into the value area high once again. This has kind of been lagging behind a lot of things. But at this point on Solana, let me just zoom out here a little bit, get my bearings. So this golden pocket has been tapped. I don't typically look for these to hold up a second time. So I would say at this point, right, you're looking for the same thing we had on Bitcoin. Fair value. If we can impulse out of this value, the next place for price to go is to seek out your next area of fair value. Value area low, 786 of the same golden pocket I just deleted, is sitting between 98.12 and about 99.56. This will be resistance until proven otherwise, and then once we get into that range, we can look up towards the daily NPOC at 103.09 and eventually look for that fulfill the volume profile into about 105.70. Until then, right, it's kind of a waiting game here. 2-day money flow, oh my God. I mean, 2-day green dot printing, money flow back in the red. 3-day money flow, still trying to work its way up there. Daily money flow back in the green. I mean, this is just a total chop fest on money flow, if we're being honest. 16-hour thick in the green, 12-hour thick in the green. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, your key levels pretty much remain exactly the same. I could take this golden pocket. We looked at this for the pull down, right? You get below the value area high, you push into it. You're looking for the fulfill the volume profile, right? You bing-bong around a little bit, but eventually you get the fill. And, of course, we do look at that as a zone because you have your golden pocket 786 pulled from the low to the high. In confluence with that value area low, that's your key level of support. Where do you get the bounce? Right from the low, above the POC, into the high. Key levels remain exactly the same. I would say your value area high here is the big level to break out of, just like on Bitcoin. Previously on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's already gotten the move up. And then your key level of support, essentially, I mean, is going to be, I'll take off this golden pocket. I'll just move this to the value area low. Right? Value area low, this 786 is still valid. I'd say your biggest key level of support is this is a range until proven otherwise, right? If we end up coming back down, right, this would be the area of interest sitting between 81.33 to 79.64. And then locally, right, if you're just going to continue this uptrend, you do have confluence here on the POC, which again, I'm not always very keen on taking longs from a POC, but you do have confluence there on your Fibonacci retracement, right? So I would say if you're not going to go back down to your key support here and you get a significant pullback, this is the level to hold. Once you lose that 786, you're looking to take out this low, and you're probably headed to the 786. Does that make sense? So line in the sand there would be losing 83.19. Then you're below the POC, can't get back above. Next place for price to likely go is going to be the POC. Get below the POC, can't get back above. Next place for price to likely go is the value area low. I think I said POC here. Value area low, obviously. So yeah, that's what I would look at on Solana, or Solonzo, as James Cramer would call it. 3-day green dot printing, 4-day green dot printing. Yeah, maybe Bitcoin cools off, and maybe Solana can get a little push to the upside. Back to it, or not back to, but looking at Ethereum, we'll just run through some of the alts here. Just mark this off as previous value area low. Just clean this up a bit. There we go. All right, so this is the local context I would look at on Ethereum. High time frame context remains the same. There's your overall range from the lows, right? You could pull this to before the breakout to get your kind of clean value area, but I will pull this to current. So I would say big key level of support here, 21.85. Because, of course, you don't really want to get accepted back into this profile. So I will mark this off with a little box. Yeah. Call it 21. Let me mark it here. 21.88, right? Because the idea here is just like on Bitcoin. This is like the 73K zone on Bitcoin. You don't really want to lose this, right? You get accepted in here. You're probably headed towards the POC at 2,069. Let's hope we can hold above that, right? And then to the upside, right, we have this previous value area that we formed from back here. Price leaves value, even here, right? You leave this value, and even if you pull it from before the breakout, what is this, 21.23? All right. So either way you look at it, right, you break out of this range, or because the range didn't look like this back here, right? That's why I'm changing it. But you get essentially the breakout of the range, price seeks fair value, right? Where's your previous fair value? That's your magnet, right? Magnet. That's why we don't want to come back down here, right? These POCs are like super magnets. You get accepted in here, it's going to suck you back into that profile. Breakout, approach previous fair value, resistance until proven otherwise. You ended up getting a higher low and a higher high. We have found resistance once again on the value area low, which is, you know, obviously we want to break through this, but right now I would say this is the doorway to higher prices. Can we get the breakout? If you can get the push inside this value area and claim this value area low at $2,400, the next target for me is going to be about 25.20, 25.15, call it. Get in here, next target, POC, right? This is also confluent with the same target we looked at before, just from a different context, which is the top of the golden pocket, right? So we've already come up, basically tested previous value, back down, higher low, higher high, tested the value, broke into the range, rejected by the golden pocket. At this point, right, get inside the range. I'm looking to go to the top of that golden pocket, which is perfectly confluent with that POC at 25.15. So very simply put, if we can get back inside this range, 25.15 is going to be the next major target. Next major level of resistance. Of course, you could get pullbacks from there, but at the end of the day, if you can stay inside the profile, once you flip that POC, you could eventually look for that bigger move up towards about 26.69 towards the value area high. Looking at this from a higher time frame perspective, like the daily, looking very similar to Bitcoin, right? 2-day money flow, you know, it's kind of coming out. It's also still in the green. I mean, this is kind of coming out. You don't have the 2-day bear div. 3-day money flow finally crossing green, right? So like the high time frames here, it's like on any pullback with a 3-day money flow crossover, right? We wind up getting a big pullback. The anticipation can still be a continuation up. Doesn't mean you can't have scary pullbacks, right? This is a key level at 22 or, you know, $2,200, 21.88. But this wouldn't be the line in the sand for zero, right? I want to make that clear. Right? I would say losing the POC, again, very similar to Bitcoin. Pull up Bitcoin here. Where is it? although this value side, do not want to get accepted in there. If you do, you have the beautiful context of your volume profile down below. And then to the upside, of course, once we get above that value area low, can hold it as support. Probably looking for a pullback here first based off 1 hour money flow attempting to come out, 16-hour red dot printing. I mean, it's the same thing as Bitcoin, right? We're at resistance. We have the high time frame red dots with some of our lower time frame money flow coming out. We got a little bit of a daily bear div confirmed here, but there is no new div here. So we'll see. But those are going to be the two biggest levels I would be looking at, on Ethereum. Next major target to the upside, 25.15. Let's see. How much do you think this rally is based off the NASDAQ or S&P rallying? I would say, I don't know. I mean, the strength in the stock market makes me feel good. But it's not like when we looked for the bounce at 66K. It's not like I was like, oh my God, like stock market looks amazing, and that's why I think Bitcoin's going to pump, right? This was all based off technical factors. I mean, it's definitely good for the continuation up on Bitcoin. In my opinion, it's a point for the bulls, but not something that, I'm not seeing 66K, stock market looks really good. Not that you can't do that, but really, like, this was simply based off longing the value area low, right? And then when we see that daily money flow start to cross into the green, we understand that the breakout is going to be much more likely here. A lot of people will say, Frank, you taught me volume profiles. I absolutely love them. Short in the highs. I say this every day, right? Short in the highs, long in the lows, short in the highs, long in the lows. How do I know when it's going to break up or when it's going to break down, right? Well, the easiest way for me to do that is to look at money flow, right? On the daily, I know this is repetitive, but it's important. We got a test here. Money flow still in the red. We got a test here. Money flow still in the red. Once we came down and took this long here, and as we started pushing up, we see this money flow trending to the upside. That is a sign that the overall uptrend is likely to continue, right? This is what indicates the breakout, right? You could bing bong around in this range forever, right? But once you see that money flow coming up, you're anticipating, well, hey, we're putting in higher lows, and even locally, we saw 4-hour money flow coming up, right? And then once that daily crosses over, it's like, well, hey, if we pop up here, there's a much better chance that this is the breakout than here and here. Right? These could have broken out, but it's a way higher chance it's going to break out here because look at money flow, right? Nice big red wave crossing into the green, send it to the upside, right? So that is why I took the long at 66K and decided to hold it, right? So stocks are good, right? It's good for the move up on stocks, but not really what made me make my decision here on Bitcoin, if that makes sense. Let's see. Shout out to Cy Mori. Said, Frankie is the bottom in, just your opinion. Listen, my opinion is I don't know, right? And this is why plans become, I know everybody just wants to know, like, do you think the bottom's in? I have a suspicion, right? For me personally, the big thing I like to see for the bottom is I like to see those high time frame, and I'll cover this for 2 seconds because I cover it almost every day. I like to see massive high time frame confirmations. Right, and what do we look for when we want to see those confirmations? I like to see high time frame divs on the daily and up. Specifically, a weekly bull div is nice. So back here, we have the weekly bull div. Did I know the bottom was in here? No, I'm DCAing in because I do think that we are in accumulation, right, based off money flow being in the red, RSI being oversold, etc. Right, all the things that we look for. And then my anticipation here was that we had targets at 12 to 14K, and I would be looking for a lower low into those levels for weekly bull divs. We did not go down to those levels, but we did put in the weekly bull div early, right? So I continue to DCA, and then we get that weekly bull div. At this point, it's looking really good that the bottom is in, right? Because you have the weekly bullish divergence. You're expecting a pretty good reaction off that bullish divergence. Once you get that good reaction, you start to see your money flow start to cross into the green here. And that is historically marked that the bottom is in every single time. So in our current case, this is why it's difficult for me. I am cautiously optimistic. Could the bottom be in? Yes. the thing that is a little bit different here is that we do not have the high time frame confirmations. We don't have a weekly bull div down here. We don't even have a daily bull div down here. We don't need that for the move up, right? But it makes me a lot more confident to say, hey, the bottom is probably in. I'll tell you this. If we had a weekly bull div or even a daily bull div down here, and I saw this weekly money flow crossover into the green, it would be a lot easier for me to say, I personally think the bottom is in. I'm prepared for another drop, but I personally think the bottom is in. It's hard for me to say that I'm not still very cautious just because of the lack of confirmations. So for me personally, I think the low could be in, but I understand we're in a bear market. If we do take out the low again, if we put in those weekly bull divs, right, maybe it happens in October, maybe it happens earlier. I'm not really worried about the timing. More worried about not getting accepted into this value area. If we get that to play out, right, maybe money flow fakes into the red and then back into the green, then I would be saying I personally think the bottom is in. I don't really have a personal I'm kind of 50-50 right now, to be quite honest, right? I could come up here and be like, bottom's in, guys, smash the like button, but I would need those. And to explain to you why I'm not going to say that is just because that's that exact reason, right? Like here we had the bull divs, and then weekly money flow crosses into the green, bottom's in, right? Here, weekly money flows in the green. We just don't have any real confirmation, which, of course, I always point back to 2014. These accumulation zones have many, many different ways to play out. This one, we did not have a div, right? This is the only cycle we did not get some kind of high time frame bullish divergence. So the two options are either the bottom is in, right, and we just ended on capitulation like 2015. Yeah. I didn't know if it was 2014 or 2015. Or what I would prefer, I'll tell you what I prefer. I really would prefer a new low weekly bull divs because I'd like to accumulate more. I'd like to see those bull divs to be more confident in the call. But we're kind of stuck here. If this thing keeps creeping up, I mean, we haven't broken any major structure yet. So there's nothing really here confirming a bull market, in my opinion, at least confidently so. We haven't broken any of the structure, etc. You know, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. But yeah, like at the top, it's a little easier, right? We had the weekly bearish divergences, the timing all lined up. We see that high time frame money flow come out around 110K. Hey guys, 126K looks like the top. I don't have those confirmations right now. But at the same time, you know, nothing's impossible. I do have a sneaking suspicion that we can still put in a new low. But again, peace of mind. I don't think it's like put in a new low, it's the start of the bear market, right? I think it would be put in a new low, and let's just like wrap this thing up. That's kind of my thought process. Shout out to Swiffle. Says it's also the beginning of May. Usually not much upside in the summertime. Yeah. In this specific scenario, let's see. Yeah, May. I mean, this is obviously bearish. June, July, August, September. Yeah. I mean, to be quite transparent here, guys, summer is typically like even not in the exact same kind of scenario. Like here we are, another summer, just kind of bing-bonging around. Let's see. Summer again, bing-bonging around. Summer again, bing-bonging around. So yeah, summers, I mean, in this context, they're typically more bearish, at least, you know, if you were to go by timing. But yeah, it's, you know, people, I don't know, I guess people are just like outside doing stuff. They don't care about crypto. Did we look at the heat map already? Yes, we did take a look at the heat map. 77K, pretty hot spot of liquidity. Shout out to JM, said, Frankie, why would Bitcoin take off without going down to take the liquidity down below and letting people make a lot of money? Shout out to JMid. I don't know how to say her name, bro. I think it's likely, right? Like I don't think. Again, just to be clear here, guys, I would not say like if let's say the bottom is in, right? Let's just say the bottom is in. It does not mean new all-time highs. I mean, this would be epic, right? I would love this. But this is not how I would expect that to play out, right? Let's just look at history, right? Even in situations where you do end on capitulation and you don't get a new low, right? I mean, what do we have here? Bitcoin was a different animal back here, right? 92% pump to the upside, back down, and then you come back down for one more drop, but you don't take out the low. You know, we've never really seen price capitulate, bottom out, and go right back up for a bear market, right? Like here, capitulation. You do have time going sideways. I mean, and you can kind of look at this as like an overall kind of value area. So, I would not expect, like even here, it's like, all right, big capitulation. Oh, pump, very nice. And then you kind of just work itself out. It works itself out. And then eventually you see that big move up. Yeah, I'm not personally, my base case is not to see something like capitulation low, send it, right? These things oftentimes take a lot of time, right? So whether it's up here, back down, nobody knows what it's going to look like, right? Maybe it's a clean trend. Who knows? But of course, like historically, you would expect some kind of accumulation pattern, right? Maybe it takes out the low, maybe it doesn't. I do think either way, though, a lot of the major pain. I mean, we've gotten the capitulation. Major capitulation. And it also kind of helps to kind of look at this on a non-log chart, right? Like, it is kind of eerie how similar this is to 2022. And I wouldn't expect it to play out exactly the same. That's why, I would favor to come down here and put in a weekly bull div, but I don't know. Like, that might just be like too much of, like, that might be more wishful thinking than anything. Like, that would just be so perfect. This fractal would look identical if that plays out. And of course, history rhymes. It doesn't always repeat. But this would just be like, that would just be crazy. It'd be like the exact same scenario with a little bit of a adjustment for like timing and stuff, right? So we'll see what happens, right? But historically, you do have some time here. But again, we've seen the big capitulation down. It doesn't mean you can't take out the low, but I do think, like, if we take out that low, right, we're just kind of splitting hairs to see, like, in my opinion, it's like, let's just finish it up. Maybe it's scary, but let's just finish it up. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. He says, what do you think about the theory of this is going to be a new range forming till October for the low and then bull? Like, something like this. Take out the low, then bull. I don't hate that idea. It's kind of similar to how I would expect it to play out unless we see something crazy happen. Again, whether we go higher from here or not, like, still kind of just looking for a range to form there. I hope not. Oh, my God. I really do hope not. That just because it would be boring for me from, like, a content perspective. We'd get the drops, but, like, if we just stay in this range, people are not going to care anymore. But that's what it does, right? People still have hope. People still try to have hope. People give up. People are bored. Anyone who decided to stay around gets shaken out at the end. So, yeah, the market has a funny way of either scaring you or bullying you out of your bag. Shout out to Zach, said that's exactly how it'll play out. We need the drawing in the premium Discord. We do have the magic line. Bitcoin does like to follow the magic line in the premium Discord. I do try to be careful about that. Obviously, sometimes there's an element of luck to that. It's kind of hard. I always try to tell people, like, I'm not going to try to draw out exactly what price is going to do, but then oftentimes it'll be pretty close. But that's never my intention in the premium. It is funny how it does work out more often than not. All right, so we took a look at Solana. We took a look at Ethereum. One thing I did want to check in with you guys, if you watched the live stream on Monday, guys, Zcash, man. Zcash. Literally, like, could not have been more perfect. We took a look at this back here, right? We got the move into the value area low, right? Which, of course, divergence is at the lows. Higher lows on our price, momentum waves, lower lows on our price action. This is a 3-day bull div, right? Money flow obviously not looking great, but we got those 3-day bull divs. You look for the move up. Major target here at the value area low. We also had some other levels in there. I believe it was a golden pocket. Little resistance, and then the last time we looked at it, before we got into this profile, we looked for a pullback where we had the golden pocket 786 with the macro anchored VWAP from this lower high here with our support resistance flip. And when we look for a pullback here, the biggest level to hold on top of, which of course is going to be your golden pocket 786 for a potential higher low. And then you also have the major support resistance flip, and you have that major anchored VWAP, which was very likely to give you a change in your macro trend. At that point, you look for the bounce there. When was this? April, probably back here on like April 16th, or probably earlier, right? Because we pulled the level, right, from here to here. So we were probably somewhere up there in early April. Come down, you slip the 786, you reclaim the anchored VWAP, break into your range. Once you get above that value area low, next place for price to likely go is the POC. And then on Monday, we were sitting here looking at the POC. Next target to the upside, golden pocket, daily MPOCs, weekly horizontal value area high, sitting right here between 545 and 506. There it is, right? We pushed right into it and got the reaction, and now we've currently pushed up to the 786, which is crazy because oftentimes I do look for these to, of course you can go from the POC directly to the high, but a lot of times, right, you're going to have like some kind of like, pullback, but at the end of the day, as long as you're in the range, flip the POC, you're looking up to that value area high, that this thing just went for it. And we even covered the 786, which is the line in the sand, guys, for all-time highs. 786 pulled from the hot. Oh. That fib was pulled from a lower high. So I will just update this slightly. We did hit that 786, but this is the line in the sand. It's not far off of where we were. 632, right? You got your golden pocket, value area high, tons of confluence in here, obviously. But once you get up here, like if you get over this 786 and hold it as support, I mean, you have a weekly up here, but at the end of the day, if you're looking for a high, a low, a lower high, and a massive lower low, I mean, that's the place to do it. Get above that 786. Once again, 631.53. You got a weekly above you, but I mean, at that point, you stay on top of that. I mean, you're looking for all-time highs. Downtrend is invalidated, right? Or lower high is invalidated. Crazy. I did not think we'd be talking about that level so soon. I didn't even think we were going to talk about this level so soon. And it literally happened yesterday, the day after the stream. So pretty crazy. But there you go. It's the magic of the volume profiles. Resistance until proven otherwise, right? You're looking at your money flow in the green here. So you have the opportunity to look for higher lows and higher highs. You got a little fake out on your money flow there. But you hold the 786 with the support, resistance flip, anchored VWAP. Once you get in here, fill the range. Absolutely beautiful. Volume profiles will change your life. We can take a look at near, no problemo. XRP, I'll take a look at XRP and near. Let's take a look at XRP real quick first. Where's Vision at? I think he's in here. Shout out to Vision. All right, so let's take a look at the higher time frames here. XRP, I mean, also lagging behind here. 2-day money flow, I mean, generally trending up, coming out locally, got the green dot. Let's check the 4-day green dot, 3-day green dot. Yeah, I mean, daily money flow back in the green. Money flow kind of chopped here, if I'm being totally honest with you. I think it's pouring outside right now. Yeah, I mean, money flow, very difficult. You got your 4-hour money flow in the green. Those could help you look for a medium time frame trend continuation to the upside. Where's my local range? Might have to redraw this. Just pull this volume profile real quick. All right, so yeah, I mean, is this a place where I would take along? Not really. I mean, you're pushing into resistance, but you do have your 4-hour money flow. And again, take the money flow at with a grain of salt right now, just because of how choppy it could be. But this would be your local range. Just still kind of bing-bonging down here. And the same thing as Ethereum, same thing as Bitcoin when they were in their lower ranges, right? Here is your lower value. Your next major area of previous value to the upside sits at about $1.84, right? So if you impulse out of this range, eventually you can look for that 184 target. Still pretty far away. So lower time frame, I would say. Again, I don't really love longing the middle of a range. And here, you're not even going to have confluence with the POC. So that's a little bit difficult. So, yeah. I mean, if the POC was down here, I'd be more inclined to look for that. But at this point, you know, could get a bounce there, but then you're below the POC, probably looking for a full fill of the range. Yeah, so I don't really see a trade coming up here, at least in the next day or so. Obviously, you could take a trade. But for me, I would not really see a setup coming. Yeah, honestly, until we came down to that 786 value area low. Doesn't mean you can't continue up from the upper level. It's just, I mean, for me, you've tapped the value area high. Once you lose the POC, I mean, maybe you hold anchored VWAP, but if you lose that, I mean, I would rather look down here. But in any case, right, money flow is in the red. On the 4 hour, if you do continue up and take out this high, right, because if your money flows in the green, you can expect low, high, higher, low, eventual higher high. I would look to take this out into the daily at about $1.54. So, yeah, $1.54. If you put in a new high, that would be the next level I would look at. And then until then, you're just kind of stuck in this range. I personally wouldn't be interested unless we came down here. But if you could find a local entry on a higher low, and then you eventually get the breakout, could be something there for you as well, because you do have money flow on your side, at least on the 4 hour. But again, with my trust in money flow right now, you know, I would just be cautious. Shout out to NS. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Said poly market showing a 79% chance for 85K this month. Would make sense for the market to get the gamblers bullish and dump it in their face. Shout out to NS. Could be. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I don't know. I think poly market usually has the percentages usually have a pretty high hit rate, if I'm not wrong. XRP so boring, hard to trade. We'll probably just sweep $1.50 in range again. Yeah. Shout out to Rupak. Yeah, not a lot going on there for XRP. Just still range bound for the most part. Let's take a look at near real quick. Where we at? Yeah, near with the nice pump. Let me just get my bearings here. This is all old. Anchored VWAP, technically still valid. Wow. Okay. Let me just get a high time frame view on this. So, I mean, we're bringing it real way back. There's your bear market value from 2022 or 2023, 2022 and 2023. There's your bear market value. There's the 2024, 2025 cycle, right? You get the big dump, price re-seeks out fair value. You deviate back into cheap value. Like when you're using the volume profiles for high time frame analysis like this, again, you're not going to necessarily use this high time frame for a sniper entry or anything like that. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at this, deviate below the value area low, that is cheap. Back into the range, back to the high. Bull market, right? I know that's a disappointing bull market for a lot of people on altcoins. But same thing here. Deviate below the low. There's your cheap price action. Back into the range. Continuing up. Stay inside the range. 786 is next. And your POC here is very close to the low, right? So you just push right into that POC rejection, back in. Now we're above the POC. The nice thing about this is with your POC so low to the value area low here, you know, POC is usually the most magnetic target, right? And it's usually in the middle of the range, right? So it's usually flip the low, go to the POC. But here, you've kind of gotten above the low and the POC at the same time. You are coming into your 786 Fibonacci retracement. Hang on. Never mind. That was pulled from the lows. Missed that when I was cleaning up the chart. I mean, here you are, pushing directly into the anchored VWAP from up here at about 317. So, I mean, this is definitely going to be the profile that I would look at. Let me just mark the levels real quick. And let me just do this for... PLC remains the same. So, yeah, I mean, I would say this is your big level to stay on top of. If you could stay above this value area low POC, to be quite honest, I mean, I could pull local levels, but like the next higher, you know, bigger target for me, stay inside the value, I mean, you could be potentially headed up towards about 227 for your value area high. Let me just mark these off real quick. So, I mean, this is long term, right? I mean, you could say the same thing getting in here, right? Well, I guess, and well, it took a little bit of time. But yeah, from a context perspective, I mean, other than local levels, you got to get above that anchored VWAP, but you stay inside this range or above the PLC, above the value area low. The next value area target's up there at the value area high, 227. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no resistance ahead, right? Because you are going to have some, let me just mark these off real quick. Got a weekly here. I'll just pull the high time frame stuff. And I'll just pull the stuff on the way up there. Hey, got a weekly. Let me just check the MPOCs real quick. Oh, yeah. Got a weekly MPOC there as well. And a monthly MPOC there as well. Gonna have to go a little closer there. So you do have a bit of a confluence here. Yeah, that's going to be a big level. So PLC of the range is down here, but you got a bunch of MPOCs here. And wouldn't be super shocking to have a daily in that zone as well. Daily MPOC, daily MPOC. And I'm using this to find your next big zone of resistance. I would definitely put focus on here, like $1.73 to about $1.70. You got the two daily MPOCs up there. Let's pull some fibs, all right, just to give you some local levels. Again, higher time frame context. You got some resistance there. All right, so between $1.65 and $1.83, this is a big zone. I mean, that cluster of confluence in there is crazy. You don't always get that, like that tight. So yeah, I would say this is your biggest resistance. Once you get above that, I mean, again, major target still sits up there at about 227. But on the way, get above that golden pocket eventually. All right, let's just say you're able to stay inside the profile. Once you break that golden pocket anchored VWAP, you're looking up towards this zone here. Once you flip that, next major target, value area high. So let me grab this, and because we'll keep an eye on this moving forward. And I'll just keep this all in one group. Yeah. Let me just update this range. Obviously, haven't been looking at the altcoins recently. Let's just pull this to here. Doesn't really change the level too much. And then I just want to see where this comes in. Right on the value area high. So perfect. You don't have to incorporate these levels just yet. I would look at this, right? We take that golden pocket off because we just rejected it. It's already tapped. So yeah. Biggest key level of support, $1.29. Stay on top of that. Get back above the POC. Doorway to this zone is open, sitting between $1.66 to $1.83. Flip that to support. I'd be looking up here. Not only are you going to fill that value in full to the value area high, but also from your other context here, you are seeking out your previous value, right? Which obviously is going to remain a major target. So there you go. Sits at 226. Beautiful confluence. So very clean. So there you go. Is that a mini altcoin season? I mean, I'm not looking for alt season right now. If that's yeah. I mean, listen, if Bitcoin winds up going on a major rally, like the way it typically works is Bitcoin will rally when Bitcoin cools off going sideways or pulling back. That's when you'll see a lot of the altcoins start to outperform. We are starting to see some moves, right? We've seen Near moving. We got Zcash getting a massive move. I don't know if I would call it a traditional altcoin season. You just do have some outliers, right? Like, you know, look at something like ETH, right? ETH just kind of sitting there. I mean, yeah, pumping, but not like these big moves. So yeah, I mean, you got Link getting a little push up, but you know, at the end of the day, you zoom out on a daily time frame, you know, not quite just that big of a move yet, right? Man, I don't know how to say that name. Shout out to Deco TV says, I know you got to go. But if you could take a quick look at Hype, I would really appreciate it. Thank you anyway for your work you're putting on the charts. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, we could take a look at Hype. Let's take a look. Where's our Hype chart? There she blows. So again, now when it comes to these high time frame, volume profiles, guys, like, of course, they are going to take a little longer to play out, but you could just see here. Just get my bearings here. There's your golden pocket being tapped right here. I mean, impulse out of your range, and this was very similar to what we saw on Zcash, right? You had high time frame, bullish divergences. Lower lows on your price action, higher lows on your momentum weights. One of the simplest things that you can look for a reaction. You got to move up. When you impulse out of this fair value, price is going to seek out, somebody say it in the chat, right, previous fair value, which sits right here. It's interesting how when you impulse out of here, you come here, right? And when you're going from one value area to the next, this is the doorway to higher prices, as well as resistance until proven otherwise, right? Because if you impulse here and go here, well, you just got a big move. It's resistance, right? Obviously, the doorway to higher prices, but when you tap the level, you're going to be expecting some kind of a rejection, right? So you come up, you front run it, you go back down, you finally push into the range, you get a little resistance. Money flow, I believe on the daily, was starting to come, or starting to trend to the upside. You get the pullback, higher low, higher high. Once you get into the range, you go to the POC. Once you get to the POC, you try to go to the high. Didn't make it, right? And this was obviously the last time we looked at this, must have been somewhere in here, because I have this fib pulled from the low to the high, saying, hey, we're inside the profile. Your biggest level of support is the value area low. You have not tapped the value area high. The value area high is up here, right? Wanted to double check that, right? Value area high is right here. You get into the range, get in on top of the low, POC is next. Once you get above the POC, value area high is technically the next likely target, but sometimes things are a little bit wonky, right? You still end up almost filling the value in full. We still have a little room here. But on a pullback with money flow in the green, what am I going to be looking for? Higher lows, higher highs. Where am I looking for those higher lows and higher highs? Golden pocket, retracement. And this is only highlighted on the value area low because we had confluence there. With the golden pocket was confluent with the value area low, not the 786. 786 is all buys and lonesome down there. So what happens? You get the pullback directly into the value area low golden pocket. As long as you hold this, doorway above the POC and potentially into the value area high is still open. Now, of course, you have the first target here at the golden pocket. We have gotten the high, higher low, higher high into the golden pocket. We got the pullback, but at this point, we are inside value. We are above the POC. As long as we remain above these levels, doorway is open to the value area high sitting at 47,125. It would not be until we lost this value area low and lost that 786 that I would start looking at that in a much more bearish manner. Until then, right, I could take this off now that we know it's tapped. And we can start looking at that next major target, now sitting at the value area low. First, you had the golden pocket, which, of course, was a rejection. That's why we mark off all these levels. But still got that value area high sitting up there. Yo, shout out to AU. Said 2x speed gauntlet from the beginning done. Back to the live. Yo, shout out to AU, bro. You should get some kind of special badge in the chat. If you watch an entire stream in 2x speed, it is super, super, super hard to do. And if you do it and you make it to the end and you come to the current live stream and you're not like, your head isn't totally spinning, that's a badge of honor to wear. Frankie Candles in 2x is insane. All right, let's see. Bitcoin getting a little, getting a little pullback here. Quick hide for a second. I'll hide. Let's see if it dumps, guys. Let's see if it dumps. Is it working? Did it work? I should have gone to a lower time frame. It's working. It's working. Is it still working? Oh, man. All right, let's continue on. Shout out to Zach, said, let's go. My biggest short so far, 82,600 entry point thanks to Frankie. Shout out to Zach, baby. Let's go. I don't have my cash on the desk. Where is my cash, by the way? Oh, my God, it's over there. I was like, somebody robbed me. Mrs. Candles went shopping, but it is over there. Otherwise, I'd throw money for you, Zach. Never mind. It saw he came back. Thanks for the dump, though. No problem, Striker. I got you, brother. Did you hear GameStop is buying eBay? Bro, GameStop is an interesting thing. It's like if you could find a GameStop store, it's like they're just in the play. Like their stores have kind of lost the. I don't know. Do GameStop stores do well? I feel like they probably don't. But ever since the GME stuff and like Wall Street Bets, it's like I feel like they're just trying to play like strategic market plays. Yeah, Mrs. Candles took it to the slots, probably. I actually gotta be concerned, guys. I could see her eyes glaze over. Crazy. And Mrs. Candles is a very what's the word? Like not humble, but she's like a very what's the word? She's a very like she does not like Mrs. Candles is not a big like Gucci Louis Vuitton girl. She's very simple. She's like a hometown girl. So she's not like, if there's anything that attracts Mrs. Candles to me, it's not my money. But she's always like, I saved money on the whatever paper towels. I'm like, it's okay, Mrs. Candles. But in Vegas, I'd give her a bunch of money. She'd come back with a slip for 30 cents and be like, I need more. And she's just like, I need more. Dad, I need more. I need more. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened to frugal Mrs. Candles? Frugal, yeah, I guess that's the word. Usually I'm trying to tell her, like, it's okay. It's okay, Mrs. Candles. Like, we're going to be okay. But in Vegas, she was like, I already nuked your bank account. Take a loan out. What are you doing? I'm waiting for my money. She got, like, very bossy. Got to nip that in the bud. Good Lord. Practical. That's probably the word I'm looking for, practical. She's a D-gen now. Yeah, she's totally wholesome. Yeah, she's definitely wholesome, man. Oh, man. I really do feel like the luckiest person in the world. Oh, God. Wholesome is the perfect word. Dad, how old is she? No, she does that, and I freak out. Because she's just like, I don't know. She's very prideful. She doesn't like that I pay for stuff, which is wild. I'm like, it doesn't matter. But she's always like, anytime she asks me for money, she's like, Dad, I want to get my nails done. I'm like, she has one of my credit cards. I'm like, just do whatever you want. And she always asks me. But not when it comes to slots. I had to take her wallet from her because I didn't want her having access to the cards when we were out there. Where is Roaring Kitty? Bring back Roaring Kitty, man. That's got to be cool. As a live streamer, right, and like especially like in this field, watching the movie Dumb Money and seeing like, imagining what it probably felt like to Roaring Kitty to be like, oh my God, like I just live stream on the internet and like they put me in the movie. Like that's got to be so cool. Like imagine they came out with a crypto movie and they just like made me the crazy live streaming guy on the charts. Hopefully they don't make a movie about me. But that's got to be super cool. Low maintenance. There you go. Super low maintenance. It kind of annoys me sometimes because like I like to give people stuff. Like I like to gift people really nice stuff. And if I gifted Mrs. Candles a $35 G-Shock or a $20,000 Rolex, she would not care. She literally cares 0%. But that's like how I show affection. She just does not care. But yeah, getting a little bit of a pullback here on Bitcoin, guys, of course, at our 2-hour mark here. But if you just tuned in, somebody asked for Bitcoin, scrub back to the beginning of the stream. I gave all my exact plans, all the exact key levels I'm watching. So you'll be fully prepared for the next move. There's a crypto movie on Disney, I think. Interesting. I'll have to check that out. What is it about? Satoshi? Short stream. Yeah. Here we are 2 hours later. But yeah, guys, we'll see what happens here. Scrub back to the beginning of the stream if you want to get all the key levels. It was the first thing I went over. I try to do these live streams so people could just rewatch the first 20 minutes of it and get the idea of what's going on before we start going off the rails and talking to chat. So there we are, right? Quick recap, pushing into the major golden pocket. Pullbacks are in the cards here. Little 4-hour bearish divergence. Again, if we get the pullback, could be looking for at least some kind of retracement, right? Even if we retrace down to 77K, that could still classify as aggressive hold of the uptrend. If we end up losing that $77,000 level, the next major key level I will be looking at is going to be $75,000 at the golden pocket, POC. Have a daily down there as well. And then once we lose that, guys, overall the biggest level of support, in my own personal opinion, is going to be $73,000. 73.7 down to about 72.8. Previous value area high. This is really the big level that will get me out of bed, right? You got the 77K level, just under that, opportunity at 75, right? I'm not going to give the setups, obviously, but those are the key levels we're watching. And then once we break down, if let's say we get a bounce off 77K, right, we'll be able to have more information, identify if it's likely to continue up or if we're looking for lower highs and lower lows. But at the end of the day, the big level that I'm going to be watching is down here, guys. Previous value area high. Do not want to lose it. If we lose this, we'll have to start looking at our older lower range here with the $71,000 value area high. We'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. But for right now, to keep things nice and simple, 77, 75, and then 73. Pull up at 77, right? Value area high retest. Once we get accepted in here, I'm looking at 75. Got your anchored VWAP confluence there. Once you lose that, I'm looking down to 73. But this is really the big level. I'll change this to gold just to put my weight on these. Right? Local level, must hold. Because once we lose this, auction market theory, volume profile theory, get stuck under here, does open up the door, especially once you lose 71K, super high chance to get that big move down to 68K, which, as you know, is the... Man, I deleted the trend line again. This is going to be... Come on. The line in the sand. I'll just rough that out for now. We do not want to lose that. Once we lose this, I think that's where you have the much more bearish case play out. I don't think we'll come down here today or tomorrow, so I would pay attention to the 77K zone, the 75K zone, and then 73. Please, for the love of God, let's just hold that. But plenty of room to come down and continue a longer-term, more bullish scenario. And we'll see. We'll check in tomorrow and see if those 4-hour bearish divergences, and again, for the move down here, guys, key level tapped, target we've been calling for over a month, finally hit. We're not crazy. If we'll see the 12, 16-hour red dots with the 1 hour and the 45-minute money flow crossovers, right? If that ends up playing out, that is what I'll be looking for the move down. And then, of course, we'll see if that, for the bigger move, right, we'll see if we can get that daily red dot as well. So we're at resistance. Be careful. Don't FOMO long. Or, I mean, you can if you want, but I surely would not. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. Shout out to Zach, said, you are Satoshi. I've seen it with the magic lines. Asta pasta, and see you next time. May we all make money. And remember, don't long the green. Shout out to Zach. And, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, actually, I forgot to say it before you guys go. If you're looking for a place to trade, Tony D sent me this right before the live stream started, WeX has a 30-day promo going. You get VIP4 for cheaper fees. Tony, do we have any more details on like the exact numbers? If you do, can you post them? This is in the free Discord. All you got to do is sign up with our link. If you've already signed up with our WeX link, you will automatically just get upgraded to VIP4. So you'll just notice lower fees. So there you go. If you guys want to check that out, check it out. Link in the description down below. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with us here on the Frankie Candles live stream. We'll see if we get the rejection, and I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. That's all I got. Shout out to Drem, shout out to Lindo, shout out to Zach, shout out to NS, shout out to Jesse, shout out to Servando Estrada, shout out to Big Ray Soul, and last but not least, Indian Martini. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Here we go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know, on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the